Welcome to The Hidden Truth. We're still pretty new to YouTube, and we're looking to expand our channel. If you enjoy our videos, please consider sharing them on social media or other UFO communities. Your support means everything to us.
We have an exciting announcement. For the month of July, we'll be doing a giveaway. All you have to do is like and comment on our videos for the chance to win a variety of prizes, including hats, shirts, and more. The more you like and comment, the greater your chances. Oh, and subscribing doesn't hurt either. What are you waiting for? Smash that like button. You can get free stuff.
1954. A massive wave of UFO and alien reports from France. Here is a bunch of really short UFO and alien events that occurred in France, 1954. Sorry about the robot voice. For now, we are going to do a combination of some human narrator videos and some robot-voiced ones. Our long-term goal is to have 100% of our videos human narrator. We are looking for volunteers. Send us an email if you are interested. 1954. Landed UFO with two small creatures near Thonon, France. The date was August 23, 1954. The place, Thonon, France. A man approached a landed UFO, near which two small creatures were standing. They were dressed in light-colored suits, and they grunted like pigs. Eventually they entered the craft, which glowed brightly, and then took off quickly. Source: ufology.org. 1954. UFO paralyzed witness, near railway tracks. The date was September 10, 1954. The place, Quarabel, France. On September 10, 1954, at about 22:30 hours, the witness, Marius Duilda, 34 years old, went outside and saw a dark mass on the railway tracks, only 6 meters away. Two 1.3-meter tall creatures in one-piece outfits were noticed. He approached these creatures, and when only 2 meters away, was blinded by a brilliant light from the dark mass. He found himself paralyzed. The beam of light went out. He could then move, and the object departed. Source: hauntedauckland.com. 1954. UFO paralyzed local farmer. The date was September 17, 1954. The place, Thonon, France. Yves David, 28 years old, a farmer in Les Bruleux, was bicycling at 22:30 hours when he felt a tingling all over his body. He stopped and got off his bike as his headlight went out. In front of him, he saw the dark shape of a craft about 10 feet long and 3 feet high. The tingling having spread through his body and paralyzed him, watched as a small silhouette moved away from the craft. It approached him, touched him on the shoulder, and then returned to the ship, which gave off a greenish glow, then disappeared. When it was gone, David recovered the use of his limbs. Mr. David states that he initially did not want to say anything about this bizarre encounter for fear that he would be laughed at. Source: ufology.org. 1954. Cellophane Scarecrow terrifies woman in woods. The date was September 26, 1954. The place, Valence, France. While gathering mushrooms in the woods near Chebuel at 1600 hours, a woman, Mrs. Sleboff, saw a small humanoid, which she thought was a scarecrow. It seemed to be wearing a diving suit with a clear helmet. When it began moving toward her, she fled, badly frightened. When she looked back, the creature was gone. It was then that she saw a disc rising from the maize field that bordered the path, whistling emanating from it. Shortly after, the witness and other locals went to the field, where there was clearly a circular trace about 3 meters in diameter, with ears of maize lying down and broken branches on the edge. Other residents of Chebuel also said they saw a flying saucer that day, flying over the countryside. Source: ufology.org. 1954. 4 children have encounter with landed UFO. The date was September 27, 1954, at about 20:30 hours. The place, Crémenin, France. 4 children saw a ball of fire hovering in a meadow, and 2 tin ghosts, shaped like a lump of sugar, split at the bottom. Raymond Drummond, 12, threw pebbles at one. On going to touch it, he was flung to the ground by an ice-cold force. A 12-foot circle of flattened grass was found at the site. Source: nicap.org. 1954. Grape stealing aliens. The date was September 28, 1954, at about 22:30 hours. The place: Street Amendment, Cher, France. Vineyard owner, Mr. Mercier, had noticed that someone had been stealing grapes from the vines, so one night he decided to stay up late and catch the thieves. This night he was amazed to see a luminous mass fall from the sky about 50 meters away, and found himself paralyzed as 3 figures emerged from the light and moved about. He then lost consciousness. When he came to his senses, everything had vanished. Source: thinkaboutit.docs.com. 1954. Bicycle riders spot landed UFO and Occupant. The date was September 30, 1954. The place: Lugrin, France. Bernard Devoisin and Count Devoisin were riding their bicycles when they spotted a glowing orange object sitting on the road. Near it was a small creature in a diving suit. The being returned to the object, which then took off. Source: ufology.org. 1954. Landed UFO spotted with 2 small aliens. The date was September 30, 1954 at about 1:30 hours. The place: Toulouse-Haute-Garonne, France. 2 unidentified witnesses observed 2 brilliant disc-shaped objects suspended near the ground, several meters from one another. 2 little men about the same size as a 12-year-old were seen approaching one another as if to converse. They then separated, each one returning to its respective vehicle, into which both seemed to melt. The figures seemed to be dressed in aluminum outfits. No further details were noted, as the witnesses were approximately 400 meters distant. After the entities disappeared into the objects, they ascended and flew off at very high speed. Source: thinkaboutit.docs.com. 1954. Witness observed landed UFO in forest. The date was September 30, 1954, in the afternoon. The place: Chering, Nord, France. The witness, 10-year-old Jean-Claude Delmet, was walking along a path at the edge of the Chering forest when he suddenly observed a dark spherical object about 300 meters away, which soon became yellow-orange in color. The yellow light became more intense and bright. The sphere then took off on a vertical flight path, emitting a weak noise and emitting sparks. Later the witness and 2 friends found strange prints on the ground at the site of the observation, described as resembling those of webbed feet, about 16 centimeters in length. The ground was soon trampled by horse carts. Source: thinkaboutit.docs.com. 1954. UFO spotted near Poncey, France. The date was October 4, 1954. The place: Poncey, France. The witness, Yvette Fourniret, was about to close a window in her home. She saw an object about 10 feet in diameter hovering near a plum tree. Its glow threw a pale light on the tree. She ran next door, and moments later 2 men armed with shotguns entered the field. They didn't find the object, but did discover a hole where soil had been pulled from the ground. Source: ufology.org. 1954. Landed UFO with 2 pig creatures near Lugrin, France. The date was October 7, 1954. The place: Lugrin, France. The witness, Elise Blanc, met 2 strange men close to a machine which resembled an aluminum campsite trailer. These 2 beings were 1 meter 20 high approximately and dressed in silver color, and that when they saw her, they grunted like pigs and jumped in their machine, which took off while taking a color of fire and disappeared in a multicolored cloud. No investigation was carried out at the time, the newspaper story being simply included in the ufology literature. Source: ufology.org, 1954. Children encounter landed UFO in cemetery. The date was October 9, 1954. The place, Lugrin France. 4 children saw a bright glow from a nearby cemetery. Approaching, they saw an object about 8 feet in diameter standing on 3 legs. A small creature carrying a bright light exited the craft. It spoke to them, but they couldn't understand it. They finally ran away, and when they looked back, they saw that the object was already in the sky, flying away. Source: ufology.org, 1954. Witness observed a landed UFO with occupant. The date was October 9, 1954. The place, Carcassonne, France. The witness, Jean Bertrand, was driving when he spotted a spherical object sitting on the road in front of him. Through a translucent top, he could see a human-shaped shadow moving. As he approached, the object took off. Source: ufology.org. 1954. UFO fires laser at witness. The date was October 11, 1954. The place, Topignac, France. 3 men traveling in a car spotted a disc-shaped craft sitting in a field. 4 tiny humanoids were working nearby. When they saw the men, they ran to the disc and shot a beam of light at the men so that they couldn't give chase. The craft then took off. Source: ufology.org. My take: this is a lot of very similar events that took place in a short period of time in France. It's almost as if these aliens just discovered our planet and were doing scientific landing parties